the show.
Right.
I got to watch my language there. My mother would not be happy if I dangled a participle or something like that. It's just,
Nope.
So anyway, what you reading, listening to, binging on right now there, Nicole?
Right now over there.
Way over on the other side of the counter.
The book that I've been listening to, we've already had one of our guests talk about. Jenny Ho was on maybe a month or so ago, and she talked about Ali Wong's Dear Girls.
Mm-hmm.
Ali Wong is a stand-up comedian. She also began her career writing, and she was writing for Fresh Off the Boat. I believe that's an ABC series. And then her stand-up career has really picked up. She got 2 Netflix specials, and now the first Netflix special was called Cobra Baby, and I forget the title of the second one, but then she was asked to do a book deal, and so she wrote this book, Dear Girls, and it is a variance of stories of her past, of her heritage, but in Ali Wong's style.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually writes the preface in the beginning of the book that the girls are not allowed to read these letters to themselves until they're 21. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the rating of what that book would be if the writer doesn't want her children to read it until they're 21. Yeah. So anyway, since we've already talked about that, it is hilarious. I will give it my high recommendation. Do not listen with your children. Listen by yourself and laugh out loud. It's amazing. Parents will really relate to it. There's a lot of stories of parenthood, but also just it's funny in general. But what was announced last week, earlier this week actually, on Tuesday, March 3rd, was the Audio Awards take place every year. We have several in the library who are judges for the Audio Awards. They have 3 different rounds. The first round is what they call the Publishers Round, and those judges are given anywhere from 40-plus books to listen to quickly. So they're not going to listen to the full book. They're going to listen to maybe a half hour of that book. They're going to judge it on production value, direction, and then the actual narration. And if they feel like it's not torture to listen to 30 minutes of it, it moves on, right? So that's kind of the speed round. Then it goes to the second round. The second round is going to narrow that down a little bit more, and they want you to listen to at least half of the books. And again, okay, now let's be a little bit more critical in our evaluation. And then it sends on to the finalist round. And so we had several people in our library this year who were in one of the 3 rounds. Actually, we were represented in Delaware Library in all 3 rounds. Wow. And so they announced the awards. The awards take place during a gala in New York City. And I think Mo Rocca was the host this year.
Nice.
And it's fun. If you're a judge, you get an invite every year. But, you don't get lodging. You don't get anything. You just get a ticket. You just get a ticket to the event. So I've never made it.
Maybe you could scalp it.
I could.
On Craigslist,
exactly.
somebody from New York might want to go and had not been a judge.
That's a good idea. I'll keep it in mind for next year.
You do that.
So the announcements of the awards were sent out on Tuesday in the morning, and the big winner of the year, the audiobook of the year, is called "The Only Plane in the Sky: An Oral History of 9/11."
Oh, yeah.
It was written by Garrett M. Graff, and it was narrated with a full cast by Holter Graham, produced by Simon & Schuster Audio. Katie Height, one of our Orange Branch assistant managers, she did listen to this one in the preliminary round. She liked it so much she went on to finish the book. She said it's great, but it's brutal. I mean, just get your heart ready for something really, really strong in The Only Plane in the Sky. So that's kind of a good review. Good but brutal.
Yeah, right.
The other ones that you might be interested in, the best autobiography memoir, probably little surprise here, was Becoming, written and narrated by Michelle Obama, produced by Penguin Random House.
It was excellent. I listened to that myself.
I was surprised. A friend had me listen to a clip of it, and Michelle's voice is very slow.
Which is why I listened to it at 1.5 instead of 1.0,
That's what the
which
friend
is what I
did.
usually do. Yeah.
Yeah, she had to speed it up. She's like, man, Michelle, I love how tempered your words are, but you got to speed it up. One that I'm really happy about that I didn't even know was in the running because I was judging a different category was the best female narrator was given to Marin Ireland, who narrated Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. And if you've listened to the show, I reviewed this book a few weeks ago. I listened to it in a weekend trip, and it's an amazing book. It's about 2 childhood friends who kind of lose. They go to the same boarding school. Then the one leaves the boarding school, but they keep in touch via letters. And then the one whose life has gotten amazing is writing to the other whose life has gone kind of downhill and says, hey, I need a nanny. Can you come help out? When the friend gets there to go and help out, she realizes that the children spontaneously combust. So this is a book.
I hate it when that happens.
It's the worst, yeah. So this is
Unless
a book.
you need a cigarette, you know.
Exactly right. Just come over here. You heat it up. So this is a book that has a lot of heart. It has some fun accents in it because the main characters grew up. And so Maren Ireland does a great job in Nothing to See Here. I would recommend that one. There is humor is a category that's near and dear to my heart. And the one that won for humor is More Bedtime Stories for Cynics. It has a long list of writers. It's short stories within. But some of the narrators who narrate this story are Nick Offerman, Patrick Stewart, Ellen Page, Jane Lynch, John Waters, Angelica Houston.
They couldn't get anybody famous?
Nobody famous. Mike Birbiglia, Rachel Nicole Byer, who, if you like Nicole Byer, she's on Nailed It, and she is going to be at Ohio Wesleyan University on Friday, April 3rd. Tickets are only $5. You're crazy if you don't see her while she's here in Delaware.
Great.
So, and I will just say my own personal plug. I judged the Young Listeners category, and my favorite of that category was The Pigeon Has to Go to School by Mo Willems, and it was the winner.
All right.
So I'm 3 for 3 in picking my winners.
Very good.
Yeah.
Harla, what you got? I see a famous face on the.
Yes, it fits really well with the audiobooks. I do listen, but as in all stories about stars, the rich and famous, it's full of tragedy and just life stuff, and but all behind the scenes kind of things. He definitely had a rough start in his life, but he started into his music career around age 17. Was influenced in different ways, good and bad, throughout his life. Certainly had some tragic things happen to him. I haven't finished the book, so we'll see what happens with it all. But he shares a lot of very intimate stories about his rise to fame, and I love memoirs for that reason. Even though they're rich and famous, things happen to them just like things happen to all of us. It's just there in the fishbowl.
Right.
We're all watching them. So he really gives some really good things in the book. It's very well read, very well produced. I've enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend it. If I try to read a couple a year, and this is one of my favorites so far. It's very, very good.
He reads it himself?
I was just looking to see. He has helped with Ken Abrams, but I believe he is one of the main readers.
Okay.
And then Ken Abrams kind of helps in there in different ways. It also has made me want to, because I'm not really a fan of his, I want to go listen to his music now. And he was also in many films. So now I'm going to get on Hoopla and get into play some holds on some of his music through the library and listen to some of his stuff because it's intrigued me now to hear more about him.
He's one of the more kind of traditionalist country singers, more like George Strait and people like that who kind of went back to the roots instead of the kind of Nashville metropolitan sound.
Exactly. And I just came from Nashville from a conference, so this is kind of very fresh. But he was kind of a country and western purist, and so he has his roots there and his unique.
And he's got one of those faces that looks lived in, like Merle Haggard and Johnny Cash and people like that. There's a lot of life on his face.
Yes, there really is.
So this week, what I've been reading is not so much books, but websites, because I'm calling this segment of our show Other Duties as Assigned.
Oh.
Because as things happen in a community, the library kind of takes on different roles. So there's two things I want to talk about today. And one of them, if you listen to the tease during the morning show, I called in right after Sheila Hiddleston was on about the coronavirus. And so the library is actively working on issues around the coronavirus. Now, we are not doctors. We are not epidemiologists. We are not anything medical. But what we are is really good with information. And so what we're trying to do is provide accurate information to create an informed community. And that's really our goal with this. And so what we want to do is put forth the major sources of trustworthy information. And Sheila, being the director of the Delaware General Health District, right there is a great place to start. DelawareHealth.org is their website. And they have good information, solid information, reliable information that they're updating regularly. And that can be a good place to start if you want information about COVID-19 coronavirus. Then you work your way up the kind of the chain of government. The Ohio Department of Health has good information on their site. The National Institutes of Health at the federal level. And most of these point directly back to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is kind of the mother lode of information. And they are updating their site, I think, like hourly with information about outbreaks and things like that. And one of the things I read as I was preparing for this was an article that was based on a story that had been done on NPR about if you're really worried about this, what can you do? And these are some really good basic advice. The first thing is plan ahead. Know what they are and read up from trusted sources. So know your employer's policies. What are the sick leave policies? What about work from home? Things like that. Have a contingency plan, like if I can't buy hand sanitizer, can I make my own? Which is really actually very easy because it's basically just rubbing alcohol in a solution. So you want to make sure it's still 70% rubbing alcohol. And once you got that, you're set. The second thing is don't obsess over the news. Unplug. The media are historically bad at reporting science and medical news. The internet is even worse. Go to the primary sources if you need to read up, but don't obsess over it. The next thing is stay healthy, because viruses find it much easier to attack a sick person. So if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating right, if you're not doing what kind of exercises you do, you're making yourself wide open for illness. And then the last thing is follow the cleanliness recommendations, but don't go all OCD. Okay, it's so funny. We have one of our library regulars. I saw her yesterday as I was coming out of my office, and she was wiping down the chair she was sitting in and the table in front of her. And I said, so it's gotten to you too, huh? And she said, no, I'm so OCD, I do this anyway. But, wash your hands for 20 seconds with soap and warm water. Use sanitizer if you can't get to the warm water. Do an elbow bump instead of shaking hands or hugging. They're just, the common sense precautions that will also keep you from getting the flu or a cold this time of year. So, but the whole thing is avoid the craziness that you see on the web, because that information, unless it's referring back to these trustworthy sources like the Centers for Disease Control, like the National Institute of Health and the National Library of Medicine, you just don't want to take a chance on them. Right. And we have one staff member who said she saw somewhere on the web that drinking a bleach solution would prevent you from having. And it's like, are you crazy? Yes, I know. It's like a very mild, but don't do that.
No.
We're not recommending that.
Come up with that.
I know. Well, that's the whole thing. You can't track down who would come up with something like that, so you don't know who's making crazy advice like that. So we're doing things like keeping hand sanitizer at the service desks. We're reviewing our policies on how we deal with medical emergencies. We're monitoring all the advice that's coming from the state and the county about community gatherings. But again, as Sheila stressed this morning, there have been no reported cases of coronavirus in Ohio. None. There have been some suspicious ones that haven't panned out. There's a couple of people who are under investigation. They're following, but none have been reported. We're also doing cleaning high-touch surfaces like tabletops and computer keyboards more frequently, as well as cleaning the kids' toys and things like that. So we are aware of what's going on. We are doing our best to stay on top of it. The other thing that falls under the other duties as assigned is this time around, we have more to do with the census. So this is the 5th census since I've been a librarian. And we've never been as involved as we are this year. Now, the census has been done every 10 years since 1790. There are very, very, very strict rules in place to prevent that information from being used by anybody else.
Right.
So there's no reason, no matter what your legal status is or anything like that, not to participate in the census.
Right.
And there's going to be a lot of ways you can, well, I should say, the reason I'm talking about it today is the cards are going out to every mailing address that the census has.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday. So you should get it Friday, Saturday, maybe a week from Monday. That'll have your code for being able to participate in the census. You can participate online. You can participate by phone. You can participate by snail mail. So there's lots of different ways you can respond. Libraries are here to help, and we'll have our computers available for you to be able to fill it out if you don't have online access. But the key is we cannot fill out the form for us to fill out the form. We can get you to the census website where you enter your code number, and then we have to stop because we are not licensed and vetted and all that stuff by the Census Bureau. the census takers, the old enumerators, will only come to your house if you ignore all of the mailings and don't participate. So if you filled out your form and done all that and a census taker comes to your door, call the Census Bureau because it may be a scam. Mm-hmm. So don't, if you've done all that.
All those other ways anyway, because they're paying those census workers, and that's kind of a waste of your tax dollars.
Exactly. And speaking of tax dollars, billions and billions of dollars at the federal level are allocated to the states based on population. So it's really important that we get an accurate count of the number of people in Delaware County, in Ohio, so that we don't lose any of that money. We're probably going to lose a delegate to Congress just because our state population isn't growing as fast as many of the other states. But it's really vital for getting that information. And so if you have any questions about the census, we're more than happy to try to help you. But like I said, we can't fill out the form. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I'm going to talk very briefly about the Derby Day that the Friends of the Library are doing. And then we're going to talk about the How-To Festival at Ostrander Library a week from tomorrow. So stay tuned.
Hi, it's Pam Spencer, and I want to invite you to listen to Mid-Ohio Hockey Talk Saturdays at 11 a.m. Along with my friends Mark Bingaman, Darren Schulman, and Carl Bennett, we talk hockey for beginners and hockey for avid fans. Rules guru Darren quizzes us on an NHL rule to help us better understand the game. We cover high school, college, and NHL, and of course our Columbus Blue Jackets. Mid-Ohio Hockey Talk, Saturdays at 11, repeat Sunday at 11 on 92.9 and 1550 WDLR.
Some people think that they can't go to the dentist if they don't have dental insurance. Others think they can't afford to go to the dentist. But that is not the case. Most people who go to the dentist don't have dental insurance. And seeing a dentist is easier and less expensive than you think. In fact, getting a cleaning, exam, and x-rays is cheaper than taking your family out to dinner and a movie. And by regularly seeing a dentist, you will avoid painful dental disease and more invasive and expensive restorative procedures. Since studies show that good oral health is essential to having good overall health, it makes sense to make an appointment with a dentist today. Ohio Dental Association member dentists are located throughout the state and are dedicated to providing the highest quality dental care. These ODA member dentists are bound by the highest ethical standards and have access to superior ongoing education, training, and resources. To find an ODA dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
Imagine a home built just for you, the way you want. Now is the time to consider Rockford Homes in North Star community for your next home. At North Star in Sunbury, you'll find an 1,800-acre master plan community on a world-class golf course. With Rockford, you'll find quality at an amazing value. It's time to build your future with a foundation from Rockford Homes. Explore customized options to fit your needs by visiting our North Star Community Model Home or rockfordhomes.net today.
Broadcasting from the Streetwise Motors Studios. In the market for a good quality, pre-loved car? Get to 250 North Main Street in Marion or 24/7 online at streetwisemotors.com.
Your weather bug forecast is brought to you by Shelter Insurance. For auto, home, life, or business, see Alicia Maitland for a free review. 593 Sunbury Road in Delaware. Or call 740-513-7664.
From the WDLR Weather Bug Forecast Center for this morning, cloudy skies, cloudy and breezy with snow showers today, the high 38. There'll be a snow shower in spots this evening, clearing overnight, the low 24. Saturday's going to be sunny, high 44. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi on the new 92.9 FM, Ohio's best classic hits.
35.9, moderate rain. You're listening to Off the Shelf on 92.9 WDLR.
And welcome back to Off the Shelf. I'm George Needham with Nicole Fowles and Harlow Lawson. Before we get into the discussion of the How-To Festival, I wanted to make a plug for the Friends of the Library's Derby Party, which is coming up on Saturday, May 2nd. Tickets are available now. It'll be from 5:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. There's going to be lots of fun. We're going to have you'll be able to watch the Kentucky Derby live. Mm-hmm. We'll actually have betting on actual video recorded horse races.
Oh, cool.
There's going to be a contest for your best Kentucky Derby hat, as there was last year. Last year it was won by a gentleman. We're hoping this, to have a similar great contest this year. You can cheer on your own Kentucky Derby horse, which you can buy and have it race in the race that we do on the big floorboard. And there's going to be good food, good fun, mint juleps, of course.
Of course.
And all of this is to benefit the Friends of the Library, who, of course, benefit the Delaware County District Library, including by sponsoring this show.
Yay.
So thank you, friends. The tickets are available at derby2020.eventbrite.com. And you can find that on the Friends website.
Our website,
and
too.
the library website as well.
Yep.
So now let's switch horses here.
Yes.
So anyway,
Very
and
good.
let's talk about the How To Festival that's coming up at Ostrander Library on Saturday, March 14th. So I see you got some really interesting topics coming up.
Yes, this will be our second year of offering this how-to festival. I kind of liken it to like TED Talks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we give it like 30 minutes for each session. We tried to pick sessions that subjects that would be of interest, general interest. This one is primarily for adults and teens. Our first one will be how to build your investor IQ. All of us have questions about. I certainly do have questions about investing. I know, a wee bit.
Especially
Some
when the
people-
stock market seems to be like a
Yes.
drunken fool walking down the street right now.
There is so much going on, and there generally is. And so this is an financial planner, Erin Brown Eisensmith. She will be sharing the basics of investing in this short but informative talk. She will answer questions. She will bring up it's a lot of information in a very short time, but she's going to be able to give you the basics of investing. And she probably will touch on, I'm sure, what's going on now and how to look at it and how to interpret that kind of stuff. We are looking to have her in the future as well for some other programs, longer programs, talking about financial planning and investing. So we can look forward to that. But this would be a good half an hour of just learning the basics.
Right.
Nice.
And it's the nice thing about Erin is she's based right there in Ostrander.
Yes, she is.
She's got the Edward Jones office there a couple of blocks from the
That is
library.
correct.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
she's one of our neighbors.
Yep.
So it's wonderful to have her be willing to share about this information with us. Our second session, hers will be at 1 o'clock. At 1:30, we will have how to teach. Boy, this one's a big one.
Yeah.
How to teach your children online safety.
Wow.
We're going to have a representative from the Delaware County Sheriff's Department come and speak about sharing tips and strategies for protecting your children online.
Mm-hmm.
Internet is a wonderful tool. It's a great thing, but it also is fraught with some dangers.
Sure.
And things that we have to be careful with, especially with children. And he will be giving, he or she will be giving tips and things to do that parents can do to help their children navigate this world of the internet. It's wide open, and so I think it'll be very informative. Again, it's going to be short, a lot of information crammed into a half an hour, but it should give you some things to go on. And again, we would love to have them back for a longer program later in the year. So that's a great one to come and get some information, get a chance to ask questions, and he or she will be able to direct you to other sources as well. So that'll be a good thing. Should be helpful. Recycling will be our third session. This one is Jennifer Way Young from the Delaware County Health District will be the speaker. Again, all of us know about recycling. We know we should. Maybe we don't. Maybe we do. Do we throw those fives in the twos and all that kind of stuff?
That's
I never knew what
Do you
plastic
get
to
arrested?
throw away.
I know, all these things. But all of us want to recycle, I think, and have a desire to do that.
And a clean conscience, yeah.
Yes. Let's take this water bottle. So she's going to come and talk to us about some of the basics of recycling. Again, she will hopefully be sharing on some, giving, again, tips on how to recycle correctly, where to take your recycling, what happens to it, all of those kind of things. And you can come and learn recycling.
Do I need to separate my plastics from my cardboards?
Right.
And
What
from
do I
my
do
glass?
with a pizza box?
Yeah.
Yes. What if it has food on it? Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a
So-
big adhesive I've even heard. So,
yeah.
so all these are, it'd be a great opportunity to learn more about something that we all know some about, but we can even learn more. And she'll be able to give us some good tips along
Great.
that line. Our final one will be at, I believe, at 2 o'clock.
2:30.
2:30. Yep. We have a local author, Jennifer P.C. Allen. She has done some workshops for us
yes.
with
And she's
children.
joined us on radio.
Yes, she's been on radio.
Yeah.
And she will be coming again to do this workshop on how to write a short story. Many of us have an idea in our mind, gosh, that might make a great story, or maybe something from your own life that you'd like to write down, a little memoir. an idea for a book or a short story, she's going to show you how to take that idea and put it on paper. This will be the one I put her on last because I have a feeling this one could go over a half an hour.
You think maybe?
Yeah.
So once people get going with it, so I put her at the end so she would have a wee bit more time to expand on that. But again, we have had her before at the library doing programs for us, and I look forward to having her again. She's really good with all ages.
She really is good. She's a good speaker.
She
and,
is, yeah.
Probably a very good teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So this is great. This is now, if you've never been to the Ostrander Library, this is a great chance to see one of our true little jewel box libraries. It's with the new lighting as well.
Yes.
It is bright.
It is very bright.
You can finally see the bottom shelf.
Yes. we have LED lighting now throughout the building, and it is wonderful. It is bright. As they did it in segments, it just kept getting brighter and brighter and brighter. But it's wonderful, and we're very much enjoying the lighting, and the whole situation has lightened us up and brightened up the branch
And we're
tremendously.
working towards that at all of our locations.
Yes.
So, well, thanks, Harlow. This sounds like it's going to be a fun day.
Yes, I think so, and I encourage you. It's something that you can come and just stay for one session, stay for them all. They're short enough that it doesn't take up your whole day. You can go on with the rest of your errands, or if you want to stay for all 4 of them, that is wonderful as well. So again, for adults and teens primarily, and it's nothing you have to sign up for. Just show up.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
And you're a busy branch this week, Harla, because I was pulling some events to be like, oh, maybe Harla, while she's here, can talk about some other things at Ostrander. But 2 other big things that you have coming up are also coming up this week.
Yes. Actually, today we have Homeschool Book Club and Dance Party on Fridays.
Right.
And then tomorrow's Lego Club and Pause for Reading, where you can actually come in and have your children read to a dog. Then next week we have, we're very excited about partnering with Preservation Parks to talk for our local history night. We're talking with I believe it's Nycom, Rich Nycom. He's going to come and talk from Preservation Parks about the history of Preservation Parks, how it got started in Delaware County. We have one in Ostrander. It's the Blues Creek Preservation Park, and it's just a couple of miles from the branch. He's going to talk about the history of that. It used to be an old farm. Now it's a park. It's a beautiful park, and we're thrilled to have it in the community. So he'll be sharing a little bit about that. It's a great opportunity to learn more about the history of that and how it all got started. So we're looking forward to him. We also have a college just ahead. We have a lot of parents that are planning getting their students ready, their children ready for college. These are going to be some wonderful opportunities. We have one this week coming up on next Thursday and the following Thursday on preparing your child financially for college. How do you pay
How many
for that?
liquor stores do you have to hold up in order to get the money for college? Yes.
And they're two unique sessions. The first session is going to be like, okay, do I need to take the ACT or the SAT? Do I need to do college prep or AP? And then the second session is more financial based. Is that right?
Yes.
So then financially, and I read a tip that our presenter was saying she's even going to mention if you don't think that if you're kind of in that middle class income that you don't think you're going to really get that much financial aid, what do you do to start saving anyway?
Right, right. She again is local, and just we had her last year as well, and just packed the place out. It was a huge group in our room. So she does. She shares some very practical information, things that you can do now, things that you can do. If you think it's too late, it's not. There are still things to do.
Right.
And filling out those scholarship forms, those applications, go for it, kind of thing. She's very, very on board with all of that information and can really guide families along. So
that's really great.
Encourage that. I think everybody's we kind of have something for every generation, it seems like, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So a lot going on for children, adults, families, all kinds of great things. Unicorn party coming up the 1st of April, too. So unicorns. Even that's going to be happening the first Saturday of April.
That's great. I just want to point out one other thing that we've got going at the Orange Branch on Thursday night. It's our Ohio Civics Essentials game night. If you went to the one last year, you know how much fun it was. It's all about government, about knowing about civics. It's great before the primary to do this.
That's right.
Soapbox Cincinnati and Freshwater Cleveland, and I believe the Ohio Bar Association is involved in the planning of this as well.
And Judge Hemanowski.
Judge Hemanowski will be our MC again. And if you've ever been to the Central Ohio Symphos, you know how much fun he is as a trivia, as sort of our local Delaware Alex Trebek. So, only healthy.
Right, exactly.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Nicole.
Always a pleasure.
And Harla, I love hearing all you're doing at Ostrander. It's great to have you. Thank you.
To be here.
Gage, great to have you working the board. We really appreciate it. And we will see you in the stacks.
You've been listening to Off the Shelf, brought to you by the Friends of the Delaware County District Library. Love the library? Join the Friends. Join us next week. 30 minutes, we'll find out what's going on in and around Delaware. Here's your host, Lee Yoakum.
Happy Friday, Delaware. It's the Digest. I'm Lee. That is Darren. Over there, Darren, happy Friday, partner.
Happy Friday to you, sir.
Woo. How was that intro?
That was good.
Better?
That was definitely better.
Voice malfunction.
If anyone could just listen to the 30 seconds before we go on air.
There is 3/4 of a lung laying back there in the corner, though. We'll have to get cleaned up before we leave today. But anyway, hey, Gage, how are you?
Hey, Lee, how are you, man?
Good. The Digest coming at you today with all sorts of news you can use about the city of Delaware. We're going to talk census. Timely subject. Right. Forms will start going out next week, as a matter of fact, and we're going to talk census with the two local experts. And don't look at me like that, Scott. Our two local experts in Delaware County.
Glad you're here.
With us, Dave Eflin. Of course, Dave is our City of Delaware Planning Director, and Scott Sanders. Scott is the Delaware County Regional Planning Director. Welcome, gentlemen, to the show.
Good morning, boys.
Good morning. Can't wait to talk census.
They're taller than you, Lee.
Well, you know.
Usually you're the tallest one in the room.
Well, you know. Who's got more You cut us open. I have more tree rings inside.
Oh, okay. All right.
But anyway, we're going to talk census and with Dave and Scott and hear what all is going on and why it's so important locally. It is. You know that, Darren, right?
Yeah, I've been getting ready for the census in my news for a couple of weeks.
So you got your gift list ready for census and what you want? Is that what?
Census for the rest of us.
You bought the turkey. What?
I'm just excited to get to put a big old 3 next to it for the first time, or whatever you do. You know, Parker. I added to your population this year.
That's true. Your household is growing.
Yeah,
that's good. +1.
+1, y'all.
It may be because of you that we keep that House district too, Darren. So
yes.
Fingers crossed.
We don't want this to lose any population, so I'm just adding as much as I can. I'm done though.
How is the Parkway this week? Coming up on a big day.
Coming up on her birthday next week.
Ooh.
But she's been a little sick.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if this is gross or not, but did you know that when babies get like sinus infections and stuff, like mucus comes out their eyes?
What?
Did not know that.
No, I did not know that either. And it's gross. Yeah. But now I know.
Wait till her eardrum explodes one day.
Hooray!
Yay, thanks, Dave. Glad we had you on the show today.
Wow. And there's a thought that'll make for a good Friday.
Yeah, so anyway, she's doing well.
Parker's good.
She's doing well.
And the birthday is
Thursday.
That's awesome.
Wow, nice. Wow, it's already a year. Gone by really fast.
You're telling me, bro. Super fast.
You're like, oh, man.
And I have a lot more gray because of it.
Yeah, you kind of do.
A lot more gray.
Well, happy early first birthday to Parker next week. So we'll do that. Again, census today. But before we get to that,
we interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. Get a little headline news. The news wouldn't be the news without the news. Well, let me tell you, I got some news for you. Americans heard the news and went wild.
I think Gage knows this, but today is apparently National Oreo Cookie Day.
You see the Oreos up front?
Yeah, I ate a sleeve of them, so thank you for that.
You know, Kathy from the morning show texted me that it was National Oreo Day. So you know what I did? I went across the street, grabbed some Oreos for everybody.
Well, it's also, not coincidentally, National Dentist Day, so I think there must be a correlation there.
It goes together really well.
It goes together, yes. March 8th, coming up soon, is the deadline for the lowest price for spring youth soccer, baseball, and softball. The link to the sign-up form is on our Facebook page. And Lee, I think you told me last week, they could sign up after that. They just pay a penalty.
Correct.
Here's another interesting piece of news for you all. Do you love trees? If so, we may have just the job for you. We are looking for an arborist. The arborist is responsible for acquiring, planting, maintaining, and removing trees in the city. Information is at jobs.delawareohio.net. And I think, Dave, you had kind of a backwards role in this position becoming open, right?
I think I did, since the previous city arborist is now our code enforcement officer. So we kept him in-house.
Kept him in-house, but you created this opportunity for someone who loves trees.
We created an opportunity.
Right here, Dave. You're going to talk. Move up if you're going to talk.
Wow.
All right.
Front and center.
Lee's being like bossy today.
You're not the Shirelles back there doing doo-wop, man.
You
got to move up.
You got to move up. Baby. If you're also into more of a seasonal work type thing, like you don't want to be locked down to a full-time arborist job, we are also accepting applications for seasonal part-time jobs in many departments, and that's also on jobs.delawareohio.net. Perhaps thanks to his appearance on our show, Justin and the Delaware Finance Department recognized for superior work. I don't know if Justin did it because he just got here like a week ago. Recognized for superior work in accounting and finance by getting a certificate of excellence from the Government Finance Officers Association, and they got that for the 17th year in a row. So nicely done, Finance Department. Want some history, Lee?
Can't wait.
Oh, we're doing it already.
I'm ready. Are you ready? Sorry, Gabe.
Caught me off guard there. There we go.
I'm just burning through this because I'm excited about the census. On this day in history, 1475, Italian artist and poet Michelangelo was born. Michelangelo would go on to sculpt the famous David statue and paint the famous frescoes on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel and found the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Meanwhile, Lee Yoakum, born the same year, would go on to host this radio show.
That's it?
Nicely done, Lee.
Where was Michelangelo born?
Italy?
Caprese.
Okay.
Yes.
You should know. You were
Lee, you were
there. Why do you know that?
I love their salads.
That is a great salad.
His artwork, okay. Love the salads, though. So anyway, I have a date in history, too, for you, Darren.
Uh-oh.
Oh, wow.
On August 2nd, 1790, the first United States census was conducted and began. And the one census taker, Lee Yoakum, counted 3,900,000 people in the United States. So our census dates to 1890. It is a requirement by the United States Constitution that every 10 years a census shall be conducted to apportion the United States House of Representatives and do other things. So this
Dave
is by
knows
law.
the section.
Yep. Forms will start to be arriving in mailboxes late next week, and then there'll be a series of reminders. And so we're all getting into census vibe, and to talk about it today, again, from our City of Delaware Planning Department Director Dave Efland, and from the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission Planning Director Scott Sanders. Gentlemen, again, welcome to the show. So my question is, why are two planning guys here to talk about the census? What brings you in? Scott, I know you're keenly involved.
Sure. Well, we spend the 10 years between the two censuses since
What is the plural of census?
I don't know.
Censi sounds
I'm
good.
not that
Like
much of an
censi.
expert. But we project lots of data based on the numbers that we start with. We project population for all the communities in the county based on building permits and that sort of thing. But we have to start with a good number so that when we get to that 9th and 10th year, it's still accurate. And we've got social services that use those numbers. We've got EMS. Everybody that's planning for the future looks at those trends. So it's really important that we get the figure right every 10 years when we have the chance to.
Now, Scott, you also are chairman of the Complete Count Committee, which is our local organizing effort to make sure that we're all counted in Delaware County.
Right. And that is a fairly small committee of county-wide folks, and we've used that as a stakeholder group to pass information on out to other stakeholders that they have within their realm of influence, as well as passing information out to townships and villages and cities within the county, and hoping that they will then copy those things onto their social media and newsletters and whatever they have going on to get the word out there that it's not scary. It's like 9 questions, so it's not tremendously detailed. You know, for years they kept adding questions, and then they went to something called the American Community Survey, which is a smaller sample, and those are done at different times within those 10 years. But this is the big one, so they've reduced it to make it simple. And I'll just point out one thing that's different this time. Everybody will be getting a postcard. The postcard is to be believed. It's legitimate, and they will use that postcard to go onto a website at census.gov, and there will be a code that they can enter that matches them up with that address. It's address-based. We had a question the other night at a meeting, what if I use a post office box? I don't have an address. Well, everybody has an address. So this may be the one time you get something at your house instead of at your post office box. But it's not person-based, it's address-based. Hopefully every address was updated. There's a big team of people that try to catch those populations that don't have addresses. And that postcard is then responded to online. You can update all of that online without having to deal with any paper. But if you don't, you'll get a follow-up form that people are more used to after that. And then eventually you might get a knock on the door from people trying to catch those people that didn't do either of those.
Yeah, Lee.
No, I promise. I'm going to do a good job. Our guest on the Digest this morning, we're talking about the 2020 census. Dave Eflin from the City of Delaware Planning Department, Scott Sanders from the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission. We're talking all things census. We'll be back with more after these messages.
The Delaware County Veterans Service has an unwavering commitment to you, and they see over 10,000 vets each year. They can help you with emergency financial assistance, VA application assistance, and VA healthcare enrollment. To find out more, stop by the Delaware County Veterans Service Office. For your convenience, there's a computer area you're welcome to use when you visit. Call the Delaware County Veterans Services today. 740-833-2010. That's 740-833-2010.
Message and data rates may apply. Please don't text while driving.
If you've been in business more than 20 minutes, you've probably printed your logo on all kinds of promotional products. We all know logos work because they're on everything from the top of skyscrapers to the bottom of shoes. Ever wondered why? Or how to best use your logo to grow your business? Let us show you today for free. We're 4imprint, promotional product experts at your service. We're giving away the latest issue of Amplify, the digital magazine that reveals promotional product success stories absolutely free to everyone who texts BAG22 to 88988. At 4imprint, we make your logo look perfect on thousands of promotional items. With our 100% guarantee, it'll be right the first time, on time, every time. Your free e-magazine will reveal invaluable insights that can attract new customers, build your brand, and grow your business. Get the latest issue of Amplify absolutely free by texting BAG22 to 88988. That's BAG22 to 88988.
Broadcasting from the Streetwise Motors Studios. In the market for a good quality pre-loved car? Get to 250 North Main Street in Marion or 24/7 online at streetwisemotors.com.
Shelter Insurance. For auto, home, life, or business, see Alicia Maitland for a free review. 593 Sunbury Road in Delaware. Or call 740-513-7664.
From the WDLR Weatherbug Forecast Center for this morning, cloudy skies, cloudy and breezy with snow showers today, the high 38. There'll be a snow shower in spots this evening, clearing overnight, the low 24. Saturday's going to be sunny, high 44. I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi on the new 92.9 FM, Ohio's best classic hits.
35 degrees now. You're listening to Delaware City Digest on 92.9 WDLR.
Thanks, Gage. Our guests on the Digest this morning, we're talking 2020 census, and our guests are Dave Eflin, City of Delaware Planning Director, and Scott Sanders. Scott is the Executive Director of the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission, and also chairs our local Complete Count Committee, which is the sort of the local organizing group to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure everybody's counted.
So that leads me to my typical stupid question, but why do we care that everybody is counted? What's the big deal?
Good question, Darren. Good question. We care for a few reasons. One, this has to deal with apportionment, how many representatives in the federal government for our local community and our state. And Ohio has lost a couple of representatives with some population loss in the state. So that's losing a little bit of representation and advocacy for our community in Ohio.
So we lose congressmen.
We lose congressmen.
And then that means we also lose electoral college votes, too.
Well, and we lose some voice in Washington. Locally in the city of Delaware, and Scott can talk about the county, I have some figures for you. In about the last last 10 years in the city, with grant funds. These are dollars that come from the federal government through the state to our local community. It's been about $3 million of investment in houses, in paving roads. The zero depth entry pool at Mingo Park was put in with CDBG dollars, for example.
CDBG, what does that stand for?
Federal grant dollars.
Okay.
Federal grant dollars. So the census and the numbers that we get from the census leads to how many dollars we get in our community back in those grant funds. So for the last 10 years, $3 million of investment in houses and infrastructure is a pretty sizable investment for filling out 9 questions on the census form.
The census, some important events are going to start taking place beginning next week, Scott. Forms will start arriving, or invitations will start arriving in mailboxes in Delaware County.
That's my understanding. That's when the postcards are imminent within the next week or two. And then I think they wait until April 1st, which is officially Census Day, before they send out those follow-up forms.
So there'll be you'll get an initial invitation to take part in the census. And Scott, you said before the break, new this year, you can do it all online. You can, and there's other ways that you can respond as well.
Right. There's going to be a call-in number on that postcard as well. And you didn't mention this, but there are census jobs that aren't necessarily just going door to door. There are other census jobs. And when I asked our regional rep, Chad Stover, who can answer every question you could possibly have about the census, so we can get get his contact information, anybody who's interested. Gosh, I totally forgot where I was going with that.
Jobs. Cash money.
The jobs. He just said, just send them to the website, 2020census.gov, and there will be a way to figure out what your local contact is and how you can sign up. And it's not just Delaware County, obviously. Whoever's listening today, anywhere in the state of Ohio, or
because this is a big deal. This isn't just like 15 minutes of work. I mean, there's like a lot of behind the scenes stuff that has to go on to make the census work, I assume. I mean, it's a big undertaking nationwide.
Sure.
It's not just like Dave kind of doing some math in his office. Or
I think it's important for people, those listening, to understand that you're not going to see somebody knocking on your door next week. That only happens if you haven't filled out your invitation either online, by phone, or sent it back through the mail. And that won't happen, Scott, till, if you don't do any of that, when might somebody with a census notepad be knocking on a door?
I recall that would be May, maybe early June.
May and into July, I think I read that, it'll be over a series of months. So, but if you don't like people bothering you at home, fill out your census form and get it turned back in.
Get off my lawn.
Exactly. There may have been a little bit of that because they did have to confirm some addresses, and so they did send some people out from the state office or federally. It wasn't local, but they did want to confirm the addresses. Our GIS auditor's office has been very busy, or that was in the past, where we got a database from the federal government. We updated it with brand new addresses, and we created a map a couple of years ago when this whole thing kind of started, of all the addresses across the county that were new, that had a new building permit in the last 10 years. And it's pretty amazing to look at, to see all those new addresses. As you can imagine, everybody's around. They all know how much growth we've been experiencing. So it's important that all those people in a new place know that they get counted in that new place, because for each person that doesn't get counted, Ohio potentially loses $1,206 each year for that next decade. So that's why it's important from a grant funding standpoint.
So you mentioned
get everybody counted.
You mentioned earlier you got the addresses, but there are some people who don't have an address. They might be homeless or something. How do they capture them? I'm just curious. Do they walk around and ask people where they are? Do they hand them a form? And how does that work?
We have partners at the United Way who are, have feet on the ground with a lot of those other agencies, and we've been coordinating with them to make sure that they help our federal partners and state folks know where those people are likely to be. I mean, we're very fortunate in Delaware County. There's not a whole lot of that. We're more likely to have someone maybe living with a family or a friend or somewhere where they're not in their normal family unit, but that's where they need to be counted, wherever they are. And I should also mention students. It's very important that students get counted where they are on April 1st, so that every college would be basically in session, even if they're on spring break. They need to be counted at that location because they're taking advantage of city services, OWU as an example. So it's important that they get counted there. Their parents don't have to count them, and that's how that works. And
same thing would go if I'm a parent and I have a kid out in a different place for college. I should not count them in my census. Let them be counted where they are. Is that
right? It's who's in the household at the time. Right. And there's a way that they will make sure that people aren't double counted in case someone does put someone down. Because I'm sure I would think that if my kid was in college that I should count them because they're part of my family. But it's a location-based not person-based, not people-based, not family-based.
But Darren, to your point, for hard to count people traditionally, could be homeless or something like that. There will be enumerators, people that will go walking around counting those people after they get this census for people filling out online or on the phone.
We're talking about 2020 census on Delaware City Digest. Our guests are Dave Efland, our City of Delaware Planning Director, and Scott Sanders. Scott is the Executive Director of the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission and also chairs the Complete Counts Committee, which is the local organizing group to ensure that every Delaware county is counted in 2010. Scott, the benchmark in 2020, the benchmark in 2010 what was our response rate?
I think the danger zone that they get concerned about is when you're below 72%. The nice thing when you look at the map, they provide these maps that show where those low count areas are. None of our census tracts in Delaware County scored below that. Obviously, everybody's required. It should be 100%, but we know that not everybody is going to end up getting counted. But we scored really well last time. Hopefully, we'll score again.
What was that?
That is the benchmark.
How well did we score?
And center parts of more urban areas like north of downtown Delaware scores the lowest, and I'm not sure why. There are a lot of factors.
You had some very neat interactive links. The Delaware County website is set up, and you don't want me to put you on the spot to name that link before you can pick up your notes. You want me to vamp for more time here, Scott, before I say, what is that website, by the way?
Okay, I do have a question while I was looking. I've heard in the past people were reluctant to do the census because it might be some sort of scheme to get you kicked out of the country if you're not here legally or something like that. Is there any truth to that, or is that's not what they're using it for?
No, that is not what they're using it for. And what I say, Darren, is all of us buy things on Amazon and online. You give more information to go buy a product online than you will really to the census. So it's a secure site. They don't use it for anything other than just counting the people in the 9 questions that they're asking.
So if you're here, even if you have concerns that you might not be here legally, you should still fill it out because you are here.
No, and that's covered by
talking about the very robust link on the Delaware County website with lots of good census information. It's pretty cool. There's an interactive tool. You can see how your census tract where you live did in 2010. If you want to compete against another one, you can see what the numbers were. But how can residents kind of get information and stay in tune on census?
Well, I pulled my note up, but our website addresses are very long. So we have a shorter way to get there. Our direct address is www.dcrpc, which is Delaware County Regional Planning Commission, dcrpc.org. And then from that landing page, you can go over to data, and then there's a drop down and it'll say census. And it's under data because when all this stuff comes in, we're going to do some specialized maps and have some data there that people can download. So for now, it's just kind of a holding place. But there's tons of links there's some federal information on there, but then there's also some posters that our health department put together, other resources that are local, some maps.
It's just good. It's good information. It's tips. It's things that residents can be aware of. They should be aware of. Know how to identify your census takers. Know how to respond. Data. How the data is used. It's a great site. And again, I found it just by Googling Delaware County Census, and it came up. So
see, Google knows more than we do.
That's right. Of course. GTS, man, Google that stuff. So,
oh wow.
Anyway, great information there on census. So you're getting ramped up and confident that in a good response this year. That's the goal, obviously, for both of you.
Yes.
Yes, we're confident in a good response, but I think it's going to depend upon how we get the word out. Radio shows like this help to do that. And Lee, you're on the Complete Count Committee, and you have a plan for getting out the message to our local community?
Right. We've started to use this program and our newsletter arriving in mailboxes today to our utility customers. About 15,000 has a census news item on it. as well as our social media. So I think it's a cumulative effort, and it sort of gets the flywheel turning of everybody thinking and acting on the census. So that's our goal going forward. Darren, you're going to do your part.
I'm excited, man. +1.
+1.
And that could be the one that puts us over the top. So, gentlemen, thanks for coming on. Good luck with the census this year. We're hoping for 100% response, and
maybe 120.
We'll be back to report on it later this year. So, best of luck. Thanks for coming on, Darren. I'll see you next week.
Sure.
All right, Gage. Thanks for having us on. We'll see everybody next week on the Digest.
You've been listening to Delaware City Digest on WDLR. Tune in next week to find out what's going on in your city of Delaware.